was it John 15, I believe it was, 1 through 8, that talked about the vine and the vine dresser and producing fruit as well, right? All right. So Matthew 13 verses 1 through 23 for those that haven't been in the class here. So um we talked about how as disciples we are to be sowing seeds, right? And the seed is what?
Word.
The word, right? Word of God is the seed. And it talked about how the seed fell on different types of soil, right? And what's one type of soil it fell on?
Yeah, the rocky soil.
You had a rocky soil, all right? So that rocky soil, what did it represent? What did it represent?
Stable.
Oh, it's rocky. Yeah, rocky is a kind of unstable, but it was kind of
Stable.
yeah, kind of unstable.
Not rooted.
Yeah, not really, kind of shallow, right? Kind of hard.
Hard. The hard
Yeah,
and hard.
yeah. So that represented a person that you're sowing the seed. The person that you're sharing the word with. They hear it. They hear what you're saying. Um, but it kind of lays on top because it's so hard, right? So it doesn't have any depth. So when it doesn't have that depth, what does it mean? It means it doesn't get the
Ain't
that
they root?
doesn't get rooted. It doesn't get rooted. So what's the next kind of soil he spoke of?
You had the soil with the thorn.
Yeah, the thorny soil. All right. What does that represent?
And it represents a heart that's not fully committed. It's complete. You got some good in it, but you got some truth in it, and you got some lies.
Mm-hmm. So the thorns are are was representing things that make you change your mind real easy, so to speak. Um, kind of inconsistent. Maybe your heart's divided a little bit. You want to believe this, but then you got those thorns. Maybe and those thorns may be people talking to you in your ear. In your ear, oh, that ain't the truth or whatever, making you doubt some stuff, right? Those are the thorns that he talks about. All right, what's another soil?
And you have good soil.
Yeah, good. So let's do that last. What's the other soil?
You talking about the side of the road.
Yeah, that's right. So we skipped that one. That was the first one. So that's one on the side of the road, kind of a worn path, right? Right. So it's real solid. So what does that represent? What do you talk about that? The seed. What does seed do when it hits that real hard, the real hard soil?
It's on the top of it. Don't even take it.
Yeah, it just sits on top. Sits on top. So we already talked about how the rocky soil, you know, it kind of goes in, but it doesn't go down deep because there's rock up under there, right? But the that worn path, hard soil doesn't penetrate at all right? And that's people that just don't want to hear it. You can tell them all you want to, talk to them, but they don't want to hear it, right? They're not listening. They're not getting it. And then the good soil, which is what?
And it's a true disciple.
Okay,
They,
okay,
they hear the word and they respond to it.
all right. And what happens with that good soil?
This is fruit.
Produces that fruit, right? 30, 60, 100-fold. All right, so now we've been talking all this time about us being the sower of the seed and talking about the hearts of the people that we're sowing the seed to, right? Talking about those people and their soil, right?
Right.
Now, that's making a pretty good size assumption, isn't it? As if we've got the good soil, everybody else doesn't have the good soil, right? Is that it? So let's take a little time. Let's evaluate ourselves. Let's evaluate our own soil. Now we're talking about y'all were freely talking about all these other folks all month. So now let's talk about ourselves. Let's evaluate our own soil. Um, what type of soil are you? What type of soil are you? What have you ever done a self-evaluation? Have you ever thought about doing a self-evaluation this whole month when we were talking about all these different types of soil? Did you ever sit back and say, I'm kind of like that sometimes, kind of like that all the time, whatever? Anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what are some of the things that you may have seen or may have what may have come to your mind as you were evaluating yourself, your soul, your heart? Are you thorny? Are you rocky? Are you worn, hard? Is it good and fertile? What's kind of soil do you have? What's your heart like?
I think it's one of those things to where if you think, okay, let's say you feel like you got good soul. That good soul that you have is a snapshot in time. It don't stay that way by itself.
Hmm.
So look at it like somebody's lawn. They go out there and spend a bunch of time on it. They get where the grass is just perfect. There ain't no dandelions or nothing out there, right? If they quit working on that yard and quit staying on top of it, whether it's the wind blew some seeds or something happened, eventually you start having some patches come up in that yard.
Yeah, yeah.
So you got to keep staying on top of it in order to keep the thorns at bay because
All right. So my question is, your soil.
right.
What are some of the things you saw about your heart?
Yeah.
I think that sometimes I could be a lot more patient with people, especially, you know, whether it's your kids or just different circumstances, you know, that maybe you could have used a little more patience. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you maybe could have a little more compassion for somebody else in a different circumstance sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. So in evaluating your own soil, what are some things you think you ought to do? What first of all, I would think you need to pray to God to kind of help you and identify, you know, your soil, to help you evaluate yourself. Just say, hey, Lord, show me the true condition of my heart. Be something just that simple, right? All right. So I would like for all of y'all to commit to do that. All right, this coming week. All right. So, um, but as you said, you've seen yourself do some things and you've kind of told yourself, some corrective action that you maybe could have had in certain situations. Do you see any patterns when you evaluate yourself? Do you see any patterns? And when I say patterns, things that you do, on a, maybe daily basis or weekly basis, you know, um, you know, do you have certain reactions? Like you said, like there are times you're not patient enough,
Yeah.
that maybe you should have reacted a little bit different. Um, do do you notice yourself being impatient often, or certain situations? Like in this situation, I'm always impatient. Do you see that? I'm not asking you specifically. I'm just saying in general.
So does that mean our soil changes?
It does. It does. And if you talk about, let's say you look at like what he said. He was talking about the grass, right? You may not have been listening because you play with the baby. All right. So what did he say about the grass? Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you start fertilizing it, you start watering it, it'll start having these bad patches and like I said, dandelions will grow. That bahia,
Mm.
that bahia will grow. But I tell you, cut that bahia the next day, you'll be able to be like, peace, brother, peace.
2 days coming.
Maybe 2 days. Maybe. Don't let it rain. Well, if it rained, they saying if it rained that afternoon, it's gonna be standing up that next day. But yeah, so so let me ask you this: how many of you have read scripture or been in a scriptural, I don't know if that's a word, but scriptural discussion? Maybe heard someone say something that scripture says, and you kind of reacted like, that ain't what that mean. That doesn't mean that. He taking that too far. Do some of you kind of doubt the scripture? Or try to, or some of you, do you read it and try to twist it a little bit to say, well, it says this, and that's in this instance. So when I do this, it's not that same instance. So I'm not guilty of that. Some of you, are you kind of trying to hold on some things. Now, scripture may be straightforward. Now, I know scripture, is sometimes interpretation. Your interpretation may be different from this person. That's why you got to keep studying so that we can get a true understanding, right? You know, but do you sometimes react to scripture differently? I think I mentioned, uh, you know, some people may say, well, a man wrote those Bibles. That ain't really what God said. Men wrote that. You know, you know, and of course, a man gonna write it against a woman. Whatever, make the woman look bad. Stuff like that, right? You've probably heard that, maybe, perhaps. Well, it didn't really say you can't do this. You know, So those types of things. Do you find yourself, and don't admit this, don't shake your head, don't raise your hand. I don't want you telling yourself. But do you find yourself kind of maybe trying to manipulate a little bit? You know? Well, I can drink as long as I don't get drunk. They say I don't get drunk unless I have about 12, 13 of them. So long as I have 11, I'm all right. You know what I mean? And the more I drink, the more I can build up my tolerance. So a couple weeks from now, I can drink 12 or 13 and still, because I built my tolerance up. Whatever. Do you find yourself doing those types of things? If so, what's your soul looking like on at that particular time? You know, you know, you know. How do you react when a hardship hits you? Trials and tribulations come. You lose your job. Air conditioning the air conditioner don't never tear up in the wintertime, do it? They always tear up in the summertime when it's hot. I don't know why. How do it know?
And on the weekend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And on the weekend when they ain't working, you can't just call them to get them come out there. Oh wait, how do it know? You got a flat tire or whatever. You've been ignoring changing your oil and all that for years. Boy, I can't believe that cost over. But how do you react to trials and tribulations? How do you react on the job just because they changed the process of doing something? You know, I've had coworkers complain about their timesheets. We used to do our timesheets like this. Now we gotta do this. I said, isn't the timesheet what you fill out to get paid? Why are you complaining about filling something out that they're gonna pay you for? But people complain about stuff, right? A new boss comes in and change, what you can wear. You gotta wear long sleeve shirts, can't wear short sleeve shirts no more. Whatever. You know. You can't wear jeans or whatever the case may be. We complain about things. How do you handle trials or tribulations or changes? What's your soul look like? What's your heart looking like when you have those types of reactions? What's the pattern? What kind of pattern have you set? You know, um, do you have distractions? Do you have things that distract you away from God? Do you have things that distract you away from what the word's telling you to do? I don't know. I don't know. Do you? What are God's priorities, and do you follow what God's priorities are? Or do you set your own sometimes? Are you giving him your time like you should? You know. So these are some ways that you can. You got a question about that? You had a hand up, scratching your head. Okay, okay. Um, so So these are some ways, that some patterns that can reveal what your soil is like. If you do all of these things we are just talking about often, your soil may not be good or as good as it needs to be, right? Let's evaluate that. Let's evaluate that. You know, um, who has thorns? What do we say thorns were?
Those are those things that compete with work.
Okay, they compete with what?
The word.
Okay,
Say hindrances.
hindrances. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So these are things. Could be people. Could be your kinfolk. In fact, many cases it may be your kinfolk trying to, they're all in your ear telling you stuff. What are those thorns in your life? Could be a spouse. Yeah. What else? What else? What else is a thorn that you may have?
Bad habit.
Bad habits. Yeah. 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 What competes? What competes with God in your life? What is God? God shouldn't be competing with anybody or anything, right? But what competes with God? Is it your car? Do you love your car more? You put more money in your car than you do in the church basket?
Maybe any outside noise.
Could be, yeah, exactly, any outside noise at all. Do you listen to what other people say? Well, the church you go to says that, but the church I go to, they, we all right with that. We can do that. It's just fine. You know? Do we listen to those kind of things? We let those kind of things influence us. Do we, like I said, do we not come to church because I got to work tonight, and that happens from time to time, but that shouldn't be happening all the time, right? Especially on Sunday, that's our day of worship, right? So, so what's competing with God? What is competing with God? Let's think about it. Who's got something that, not you, I get it. Who knows of something that competes with God with other people? With other people. Give me some examples, some different examples.
I think
Go
I
ahead.
think one of the probably things that go under the radar is just, we have all this stuff that God pretty much lends to us to use. And time is one of them. We find time to do all kinds of other things. But if you look kind of like in comparison, how much time you might spend scrolling on your phone or watching
Hmm.
TV, and then you look at how much time you spend reading and studying, and a lot of times you'll see
Yeah,
they pretty way out of balance. You got 6 hours a day that you on the
yeah,
internet.
yeah.
Then you be lucky if you have an hour reading.
Let me ask you something. How many of you on your job, let's say you got a meeting coming up, right? Boss gonna sit down and talk to you about some stuff. How many of you study some stuff for the meeting? Have you ever had to do that? To prepare yourself for the meeting that you're about to have. Yeah. How much time you was doing? You probably did it a couple, 2, 3 days before time, maybe a week before time, at least the night before, right?
Yeah.
And how much time you put in? Yeah, 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 yeah. That morning, the meeting, afternoon, do it that morning. And I say that now because I had a meeting that was scheduled for tomorrow I've been preparing for. It got canceled today, so I'm good. I'm happy. So I'm like, but how much time do we prepare for that? But then how much time do we take reading the word?
Yeah.
We take 3 hours to prepare for this meeting, but we won't spend 3 hours in a week studying the word. Sometimes. I mean, how many watch a 2 hour movie? I watch movies all the time. Uh-huh. I watch movies. They all hour and a half, 2 hours, right? How many of us spend 2 hours studying, 2 hours reading, 2 hours just listening to some good gospel Christian music? Do we do that? Do we do that? At least having your mind on something, You know, that's not as good as studying the word now, but it's better than listening to, you know, some old, I don't know, that rock and roll stuff, right? That old rock and roll music. All right. So but what is God competing with? Is he competing with the movies we're watching all the time? You know, is he competing with our jobs? Now we can get up in the mornings and get be work. Everybody go to what time you go to work? 8 o'clock.
Yeah, 8 o'clock.
Which can't.
Supposed to be at work at 7.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Guess you go at 8.
9.
But we can't get here at 9, can we? We act like we can't get up and get here at 9 o'clock. You know. How many of you go fishing? Anybody fish? I knew there's a couple of hands gonna go up. What time? What time y'all go fishing in the morning when y'all go? You get it? Did you get up at 9 o'clock and go fishing? Most of the time. But most of the time, what time you be out there in that water?
I got something earlier that day. I go to eat.
Yeah, okay, go in the evening. But if you're gonna go in the morning, what time do you go?
I try to get out there for the sun.
Get out there before the sun. So you trying not to answer me, but yeah, finally had to answer. Before the sun comes up out there, so you can catch them good fish, right? So you catch them fish. Because fish wake up, what they gonna do? They're gonna eat breakfast just like we eat breakfast, right? So you gonna give them a little worm to eat. There you go. So yeah, you out there before the sun come up. Not you now. But you can't get here at 9 o'clock. Can't get here at 9 o'clock. Sun been up 3 hours. You still can't get to them doors by 9. You know, what's God competing with? Now I'm not, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with going fishing. You know, there's nothing wrong with, and every now and then something's gonna come up, but that shouldn't be your habit, right? It shouldn't be a pattern that you've set. You know, NFL starting, they play on Sundays. I got to get home and see the big game. So you don't go to church, or you come here, you don't go to fifth Sunday service because it's at 2 o'clock, and them Falcons, man, that's about halftime.
You might go to Sunday.
Yeah. Oh yeah, might as well go, right? Watching the Falcons.
You might go to Sunday.
It's nothing wrong with watching the game every now and then or whatever. I ain't saying there's something wrong watching games, but you shouldn't be putting God off so you can watch the ball game, especially on a regular basis. Yeah, okay, you get some tickets. I get it. Falcons play on Sunday, you know, and you got some tickets. You don't get tickets very often, but you got some tickets to this one game, and that's fine. But you got season tickets. That means you pretty much going every Sunday somewhere. I mean, I know they play away games and all that, but but you planning on going to what? At least what, 8 games? How many they play? 17 games now? You know? So you got season tickets. You plan on going at least 8, 9 games, 7, 8, 9 games in that season. So you gonna miss Sunday service that many times? You planning to do that? That's premeditated right there. Ain't it? What they call premeditated. Don't you get more years in prison when it's premeditated murder than if you
Yeah.
because you thought about doing that and planned it out. No, so what is God competing with? What have you put up there with God and that's competing it? So that's something you need to evaluate about your soul, your soil, excuse me, your soil, and your which is your heart, right? Now the things, these thorns may not actually be sinful. There's nothing sinful about football. I hope it isn't because I like football. But if you put it in the wrong place, now you've created it, right? Created an issue, right? Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so be sure. All right. So if you're good soil, what did we say the good soil is going to produce?
You don't have fruit.
Fruit. All right. And what do we say fruit is? What is fruit? Pineapples, watermelons, watermelon fruit. What'd you say? Say it into the microphone. It's right there. But you got to produce that fruit. Now, okay, tell me, is fruit you making a lot of money? That's not fruit. It's fruit. You I don't know. You've been given a good singing voice. Is that fruit?
No.
I ain't get no answers. Yeah, yeah, talent. Is that fruit?
If you make money, that's fruit. That's not fruit, is
No.
it?
You know?
When you say fruit, I think about fruit of the spirit.
Mm-hmm. What is that? What are those? What is that there? What is that there you're talking about? Kindness, patience,
Faith.
long suffering,
Long suffering.
yeah, joy, love, right?
Those the things that are going to demonstrate the character of Christ.
Exactly, exactly. Christ-like behavior. So you're being obedient to Christ by doing the things that He wants you to do in the manner that He wants you to do. So that's the fruit, right?
Right.
That's the fruit. So when you evaluate yourself, do you see any fruit?
I see some.
Not gonna say all, but
I
some.
say some.
At
Not
times, you find yourself being kind to people every now and then. You know, I didn't cuss that lady out. I was so nice. Cause
yeah, man.
see, in my past, I would have cussed her out for that. I didn't cuss her out this time. That's fruit. Yeah, got a hand right there.
It is fruit. You do it before and you do it now.
Not every garden can bear all fruit. Some garden are built for certain fruit.
Well, I've never read that in the Bible, so I'm not gonna say that.
What'd you say?
Not every garden.
Not every garden can bear every type of fruit. Like you can have a garden that bears all type. Some fruits need some different qualities in soil. You
They
might
do.
not have the soil to even bear that fruit.
But what if you put whatever nutrients that soil needs? You could grow it. You could grow it. But the Bible doesn't say you can't have all those fruit. It said the fruit of the spirit are these. See, and they start listening, right? So I think we can have all of them. I think we can have all of them. Now, we probably have different levels of it,
That's what I would.
you know. Like joy is one of them. Some people walk through the door and they're joyful, right? Some people walk through the door, they're not as joyful. Some days people may be more joyful than others, perhaps. You know, um, but when you evaluate yourself, you evaluate your heart, your soil, do you see fruit? Do you see that fruit has been uh, developed or given you? What fruit do you have? What fruit do you think you have? What just think about today. What fruit did you display today that you have today?
Patience.
Okay, wait. And give us an example of when you displayed that, please.
I'd rather not give the example, but it was at work.
You had patience
Patience.
with someone at work. Okay. All right.
But I normally would just
Hold up.
pop off.
Say it in the mic. Say it in the mic. So the people in the
But I
back can hear.
normally would just like pop off at the mouth. I just like for a minute just waited for my answer.
Hmm.
Try to think about it.
Okay. That's a good practice to have. Popping off at the mouth. Now, anybody else? What fruit? What fruit did you display? What fruit did you display? Now, I mean, y'all said y'all got good soil, right? So that fruit ought to be all just falling all off y'all. What you got there, Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I was just
Brother
gonna
Johnson.
go back to earlier when we was talking about the fruits and having all the fruits. Of course, yes, we can have all the fruits, but we still have to grow in those areas where we lack.
Mm-hmm.
And I know starting off, I didn't always, was either patient or, you know, I had joy or something like that. I was probably always kind, growing up, I was a kind of person willing to help people without people having to tell me to help them. That I had to grow in patience, and I had to grow, in love and joy and the other fruits of the spirit. Those I still had to do some growing.
Yeah.
There was times where if somebody I was working and they came at me incorrect, I would say something to them.
Boy, you ain't said nothing bad to nobody.
I would say something to them,
I
but
can tell. Well, you always been a nice person. I can tell. I can tell.
I learned to be better.
That's good. Yeah, you're right though. We grow. Sometimes things happen to us. You know, how many of you were, let's say, impatient and you had kids? All of a sudden you got patient, didn't you? You know, now some of you may have gone the opposite way when you had kids. I mean, they may have worked on your patience. But you became more understanding. Um, when you had children, or when you're around children, you're more understanding than when you're around an adult. But things that happen in our lives sometimes, can affect us in a way that we may, treat people different, act different. All right, so still, see, so y'all paid Jamal to get us off topic. It didn't work because I remember I forget some stuff. I didn't forget this one this time. We got one answer of somebody who said they showed some fruit today, that they displayed some fruit today. So somebody else give me an example of some fruit.
Okay, I would say like being peaceful and being kind. I'm usually gonna be the person at work that if somebody needs to run to the store to get this, pick up this, to take the extra time to, hey, I'm going this way. Do you need anything? Are you sure? Or if something pops up and it's, kind of contentious, I'm usually the person like, well, it's their business. If that's the way they want to do it, that ain't really the issue.
Okay.
I think like, them fruit.
So you did that today?
Yeah.
Okay. All
We
right.
got a brand new. The boss made a new app for expenses.
Mm-hmm.
So now instead of you taking your gas receipts and sending them in, you got an app that you got to go on your phone and you got to fill out this form and take pictures of the receipt and then submit it and wait on the response to whether they got to approve or not. And then what they did was we used to have it company wide where if you got a car, you had to send in your receipt. They cut that out.
Okay.
So the managers have people under them that have to bring their stuff. So like my guys at my place, they have to bring me their receipts and I have to submit. So they don't like the idea that I got a car now I have to come to you, you handling my stuff. I don't know if you did or not.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Okay. Okay. All right. That's two. Fruit. All y'all good soiled people. What's some of the fruit that you displayed today on this day?
Since it's not no red clay, good dirt, black dirt.
Sometimes, and I'm gonna give y'all out a little bit. Y'all do things so naturally that you only say, did I do anything nice today? Because you don't have to think about it, right? So I'm gonna say that's why it's taking you a little longer to come up with something. So what did you do today? Anything? You have any conversation with anybody today about anything? Were you nice? Sister Ville gave me a hug when she walked in, even though she was sweaty. That's what she said when she walked in. I'm all sweaty. She gave me a hug, right? Right, right. She shared love, shared joy, kindness. You know, that's some fruit, right? No? Yeah. All right. See,
So I guess he ain't gonna say that. Adrian did good. He cooked dinner this evening.
did
He
it?
had to cook before I got home.
Okay.
And he had
Chick-fil-A.
spaghetti and he had done the spaghetti, the meat, sauce, and all that stuff.
Okay, great. There you go. Yeah.
You bring us
Yeah, you didn't bring nothing for everybody, huh?
Gotta have the dinner ready before we get here so that the kids can eat. So
Yeah.
they won't be up late by the time we get back.
Yeah, good. It's good. Very good. Very good. Very good. Was that that's the example you were going to give, or you got another one to give?
I haven't talked to anybody on
I ain't talking about other. You don't necessarily talk to somebody. All right. Anybody else?
Say I pretty much show love, peace, kindness, patience. Not too sure about the joy because I listen and it's like I'm hearing the same thing over and over. It was my nephew mad with the other brother, other nephew, and it was about the same thing. So I listened and I said, I understand, but you already know. So I'm not sure if I showed too much joy,
Yeah.
but you know,
But you listened.
I listened and I said, well, just do the best you can.
Yeah, there you
Make
go.
sure you're doing what's right.
Yeah.
You don't
And
think you showed joy?
that's
I, well, I don't know if you saw joy, but I saw, I repeat, the same thing over and over. You're having to go through the same thing over and over. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you're both grown, and I'm thinking this is so stupid, but I just listened and I said, I do understand. And I can understand why you're saying you're not gonna do it.
yeah.
it.
And sometimes people just want to vent a little bit.
Yeah.
They do.
They want somebody to hear them, hear them out a little bit. You ain't got to necessarily agree. You just say, I hear you, I understand. Like you say.
I tried to show kindness to one of my friends. I was telling them about some deer horns that somebody got for me because they moved out into the country. And so I was telling them about this brother at my church that got me some deer horns and my daughter some deer horns. So I told about his fruit and I was trying to help her out. And she was like, I heard about that. I remember people talking about him.
Yeah. Those little deer whistle things you can put on your vehicles. All right.
I know.
I guess.
Yeah.
Supposedly it puts off a whistle that they can hear or whatever.
It's a deer whistle?
I don't know what it's called exactly.
Animal warning devices.
There you go. Animal warning device. All right. Who else? Jairus.
I'm patient, loving every day.
Every day.
People don't think that I am, but I am. Huh?
Honey, got 2 extra kids today.
Always.
3.
You got 3 today? Oh, who did? Dallas here too. That's right. That's right. You
I
got
mean,
3.
you don't have to.
Out of the goodness of my heart.
Goodness. Kind. There you go. Spreading joy. Christ-like behavior. Yeah. All right. We got a few. I did some today too. I think I kind of did it. I don't know if this counts or not.
You do stuff every day, though.
I ain't do nothing today. But it didn't wait on my car.
Wait on your car?
Were you kind? You ain't fuss at the people.
Did you fuss at him?
That was kind.
Oh no. I was so happy.
It was on the warranty, so you were
So
happy.
you
then.
showed joy. Yeah, that's joy.
Yeah. You know, how many of you go to a restaurant and when the person comes and fills your glass, do you tell them thank you? You know? Or yes, please. Just like so, yes, please. Just being, nice and cordial, and not, act like, well, yeah, it's your job to fill my glass up, you know. Be kind and like I said, courteous to people. That's spreading joy, smiling. How are you today? You know, whatever, maybe asking them, what's good here? What kind of food y'all have here? Is it good? And you sure, just cracking a joke with them or something, just to make their day go a little bit better, right? You can do those kinds of things. Um, each, on days, when you, um, I was kind of kind to somebody, I think, today. I think I was. Um, for me, a guy delivered something to our house and messed up our wood floor and in our kitchen, and I blamed it on Adrian. So I had gone to Lowe's. I had gone to Lowe's. I ain't blame that on you. I blame this on you. I tell you, I blame you. I went to Lowe's and told them, and so they called the person, and so they gon' like take it out the person's pay that they pay him to do installations or make him file on his insurance, whatever. So when he calls me, he apologized that yeah I knew we messed up and this that and I didn't say nothing mean to him at all. I didn't say, oh yeah, you gonna fix this. Hey, I was like, hey, things happen, things happen, ain't that big a deal, but yeah, we do want to fix or whatever. I said, I saw the scratches. I didn't think they were as bad as they were. I said, then my wife came home and she saw it. That's what I blamed on you. I said, my wife came home, she saw it, and she was like, oh no. So anyway, but I was, he was offering me kind of different things, and
That's a little rocky.
get it fixed. What?
A little rocky.
What? Oh yeah, it is. But I was nice to him.
The guy that messed up this one called you?
hmm And so, but he was very apologetic, and like I said, I said, hey, no hard feelings, but yeah, we do want it fixed, and I'll see, I said I've got some replacement boards. If you know somebody that can do the work, they won't have to buy the materials. They just, they can replace those, those because they were about 6 inches wide or whatever. And so I got a whole box of those. Probably got 2 or 3 boxes actually. But um, so I offered that, to him, and he was like, "Well, I'll just pay you. If you want to get somebody to do it, I'll pay you." He didn't want to be charged on his insurance or whatever.
Yeah.
I said, well, let me check around, see if I can get some prices, and I'll let you know. But yeah, I mean, I showed a little bit of kindness, right? No, kind of. That's iffy, huh?
I think you were really kind.
No, because you said the way he was.
You been the truth though.
Compared to where
What I've been the truth.
You said your wife came home. And
She
saw the
did.
scratches.
She did.
If he would have been told him people
So he has
So
grown.
he has grown.
Yeah. And think about it. Let me tell you the difference. How big a difference, I guess. I actually wasn't mad. You know how you'll be mad at somebody, but you treat them nice, even though you want to tell them off. You say, "Well, I ain't gonna do that. I'm gonna say something nice to them." You know. I didn't even. It didn't. I wasn't mad inside, and then pretended to be nice to them. I was like, "Hey, things happen. It is what it is. I mean, we'll get it fixed or we won't get it fixed. I mean, I ain't fell out dead yet. I can live with it. So, right?
That's how you got smart with man when you was telling that.
Look, now ain't nobody bringing up all that old stuff.
Last time you said what? You said what?
I just missed. I didn't hear what he said. Anyway, so yeah, so
You said what?
I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? But anyway, but yeah, just showing kindness, being understanding, um, um, I mean, and I don't know the guy. He could, I mean, because he came over. I think he said they were from Adel, and so he came all the way over from Adel, which I think he had 2 or 3, to do to install that day. But still, that's a long way to travel. I mean, he's man trying to earn a living. But yeah, you know. Anyway, so I showed a little bit. I may not do it every day, but I did it a little bit. I hung up the phone with him and got mad at somebody just right after that. I don't know. I can't remember. Anyway, but just little things like that. Do we evaluate ourselves? Do we, like you said, you've done some things and thought about it later, said, maybe I should have done or said something a little different. Do we evaluate ourselves? So let's evaluate our own soul. We're talking about everybody else that we sow in the seeds too, and how their soil ain't quite right. We need to keep looking at ours. Okay, so to have good soil. Now, someone mentioned about grass and being good one way, but if you ignore it, it doesn't stay good. So even if you have that good soil, it still needs to be worked, cultivated, and all that stuff, right? Nurtured. What are some of the things that can help cultivate and nurture your soil?
Stay in the word. Well, I'll say stay in, but study.
Yeah. Yep. Study in the word, study in scripture. Yes. What else?
Prayer time. I think that while like studying the word and all that is very beneficial, but that time that you put on meditation and prayer, that that is going to help you have a better grasp of what you actually study.
Okay.
Because you can read a bunch of stuff and memorize it. That don't mean it's stuck with
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. So what are some of the things also that God maybe what does God do? What can he use to cultivate our soil? What does he use to cultivate our soil? What does God use to cultivate our soil? How does he plow it up? How does he plow us up?
I think me personally, I don't know if I'm telling the truth or not, but I'm gonna say like, well, I'm just saying like,
Tell it.
like testing us to see if we're gonna be,
He does.
I guess remain faithful or venture off.
Mm-hmm. He does. He does. He gives us those trials, doesn't he? That's all right. What else does he do? What else does he do? What else? Let's think about the parable of the vine and vine dresser. What does he do? What the vine dresser do with the vines? Prunes them, right? That's what that meant, Joe. To cut it up. Prunes it. All right. So how does he prune? How does he prune in our lives? What does that mean? Literally in our lives. How does he prune? He can't cut our fingers off now. That's not well, he can, but he's not doing that, right? So how's he pruning?
They put like something in your way sometimes to.
Well, should have thought about that. The trials and tribulations that you have.
By removing some of those things that keeps us away from him. He removes those things.
Yeah.
He don't do it overnight, but it does take time.
Yeah.
He does prunes us to remove whatever that distraction is.
He does. He does. So when you have a bush or a tree or something and you prune, you're cutting away those dead leaves and all that kind of stuff that's taken away. Because if you water a tree, a little bit of that water, is going to go to that dead leaf in it, or the dying, part of that branch. So you need to trim that up.
What about he shows us when he answers our prayers?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I believe so. I believe so. He uses that to to build faith, to help us build more faith.
I think James made an example Sunday about, let's just say hypothetical person had an issue with drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Over time, he takes away the appetite, the desire for you to want to do it. They tell you, well, I tried for the longest, like somebody smoked, to quit smoking. And then I just quit cold turkey. Well, the person's saying but it ain't I. Because if you had the willpower to quit when you got ready, you should quit a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, he'll take that taste away from you, whatever. Yeah, that was a I don't know for sure because I wasn't a smoker, I guess. But that was a technique to quit smoking. They would give people, they make them go in a room and smoke a whole bunch of cigarettes together, and then all that smoke would be so strong and all that. They come out there throwing up and all that, and they quit. You ever see that, Joe? You kind of smile. You ever heard it? But they would use that, So yeah, so he'll use something like that, and to take the taste away from us, right? Take that taste out of our mouth, so to speak. Um, he also used community. He'll use the people around us, right, to build, to help build us up, help strengthen us. He'll send somebody our way sometimes to give us a good word. Y'all ever run into anybody? You ever been somewhere and kind of run into a person, or I say run into them, I don't mean literally run into them, but you meet a person and they say something to you and it's like, you know what, I need to hear that today. It's almost like God It is. I think it is. He took that person and put them in your life for that 5 minutes or whatever to for y'all to have a certain conversation, and that person may drop a little knowledge on you or just said something to you that hit you just right. Say, you know what, I needed to hear that. So God uses our community to strengthen us and build us up. To cultivate our soul. Um, so all right, so we'll end right there. But let's continue to do some evaluations on our soil, on our hearts, right? And let's see if we're producing the fruit, if the fruit is being produced from our soil that needs to be produced. All right. Any other questions, comments, criticisms, praises? I don't know. Right. All right. Thank you all. All right, everybody's in here now. Anybody got anything for the group? Any announcements?
Uh, the men's meeting.
Oh yeah,
We doing that the third Saturday, right? That
yeah,
15th.
yeah, yeah.
So the men's meeting will be on the 15th.
All right. So not this first Saturday. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
So I was gonna ask prayer for my brother-in-law's sister, Francis, who's in Phoenix, also keeping my prayer. And, my brother-in-law's sister always up seeing everybody, but I didn't want to make sure that you all keep her in prayer. But not only that, his niece, is in there. She's really not really responding right now. So you all keep her in prayer, 'cause she's not doing well at all. They're gonna do.
Your brother-in-law's sister and
That's the niece, my
and
brother-in-law's sister.
and her daughter.
Both of them are our cousins.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? Anything else? He's behind you, right? Any other announcements, requests, anything?
She back here on social media, man.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-huh. We're forgetting something. There's something. Let's see. Brother Marshall is coming the 22nd, right? That fourth Saturday. So he'll be here that fourth Saturday. So let's uh, be prepared for him to return. Um, we have a fifth Sunday in August, right? Where's do you know what fifth Sunday service is? We don't know yet. Okay, so there will be a fifth Sunday service in August. August.
Where is?
They don't know yet.
Gotta turn on
It's
battery.
okay, it's okay. It's okay.
See, some people can hear and not listen.
Patience, love, kindness.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. What we learned. Evaluate yourself.
I used up all my fruit earlier. I used up all my fruit with that guy with